You've made a colossal blunder. You're fired. Don't you dare show your face at the office again." After bellowing these words, Mr. Anderson, the department head, stormed out of the room. "So I'm getting the axe, huh? I've been a solid contributor to the company, never slipping up big time, but it looks like I've got to hit the job market again." But then, just 2 days into my sacking, my cell suddenly starts ringing. "Thank goodness, Mr. Jack, you've picked up. Could you come back to the office right away?" Hearing that, I arrived at the office, and what I saw was, "My name is Jack. I live with my gentle wife and an energetic 8-year-old son, making us a family of 3. I work for a subsidiary of a major food manufacturer, handling the ordering and delivery of food products. Handling both commercial products for restaurants and eateries and retail items for home use means inventory management is a real challenge. All in all, it's a job that demands constant attention to avoid mistakes, but I've managed to work efficiently without any major errors so far. However, there's one troublesome guy at work. Hey, Jack, you were supposed to finish this report by today, right?" The one calling out to me loudly is Mr. Anderson, the department head. Mr. Anderson, my boss, is younger than me, in his 40s. The reason being Mr. Anderson is the son of the department head at the parent company, a major food manufacturer. He's always bossing me around with his arrogant attitude. Moreover, he's the kind who always thinks he's right, yet ironically, he's pretty hopeless at his job. He's been the department head for just 2 weeks now, but Mr. Anderson seems to have taken a disliking to me. He comes by daily, dumping more work on my desk. "After you're done with that, get these documents ready too. Hurry up," he orders. "Yes, sir. Act on your own before your boss tells you to." Seriously, you're so clueless. Mr. Anderson tossed a stack of documents onto my desk roughly and then left the room. As I gathered the scattered papers, I could hear my colleagues whispering nearby. I didn't intend to eavesdrop, but being in the same room, I couldn't help but overhear. "Mr. Anderson is always so hard on Jack. Jack is meticulous in his work, and he never makes mistakes. I wonder why. But Jack does seem kind of spacey. At his age, he doesn't have a title, right? Maybe he's not interested in climbing the ladder. Well, with his personality, it does seem hard for him to get ahead. Even when Mr. Anderson, who's younger, scolds him, he just grins." Listening to my colleagues' quiet laughter, I sighed. Let them say what they want. I'm just doing my job my way. While thinking that, I kept working on the tasks assigned by Mr. Anderson. But one day, as I was working as usual, a colleague suddenly started panicking. He was apologizing repeatedly, sweat beading on his forehead, while talking on the phone. Wondering what was going on, I watched as the colleague, who had just hung up, came toward me. "Jack, what's this all about?" "Me? What do you mean?" The colleague handed me a note. It detailed a complaint from a major client. "What do you mean we ordered 50 regular items for commercial use and 500 household items as samples to distribute, but we only received the 50 commercial items? We received a call scolding us. They were supposed to distribute the household items to customers at an event in 3 days. They were quite upset. That can't be. Are you kidding? I've never made such a mistake before, and I was sure I had checked everything this time." I started to panic a bit. I handle orders for 2 types of products, commercial and household items. The large packs for commercial use and the smaller, individually packaged household items are easy to mix up because they have the same product name. I was especially careful because it's prone to errors, and I always checked thoroughly since mistakes are irreversible. But the fact that we're getting a complaint now means I quickly shifted my focus, opened my computer, and checked the order form. The order form only showed a record of 50 items for commercial use. That's strange. I'm sure I ordered 500 household items as well. I couldn't believe my eyes, feeling the blood drain from my face. Then, in the next moment, Mr. Anderson's loud voice echoed throughout the room. "What a mess you've made, you incompetent employee." "No, but I'm sure I ordered 500 household items, too." "Quiet! You only ordered the commercial items, didn't you? Instead of making excuses, do whatever it takes to gather 500 household items." Mr. Anderson pushed me back to my desk and stormed out of the room, fuming. My colleagues watched the exchange between me and Mr. Anderson with concern, but none of them offered to help. "Anyway, I've got to gather the household items." I hurried back to my desk and started calling our branches. "I'm sorry for the sudden call. If you have any spare household items, could you please send them over? Please, I beg you." "Thank you so much. I'll definitely repay this favor." Still 240 items short and only 3 days left until the event with our client. Will I be able to gather all 500 items in time? No time to hesitate. I just need to do whatever I can right now. I made call after call, addressing the situation. "I'm terribly sorry." "Yes, thank you. I appreciate it." I kept bowing my head and asking if they had any stock available, even if it was just one item. I personally drove to pick it up. 70 items left, and then the day before the event, holding a box filled with the products, I bowed deeply. "Thank you so much for everything. I'm truly grateful." Finally, I managed to secure the 500th item. Thus, I was able to prepare the planned quantity just in time for the client's event. Immediately after, I went to deliver to the client, but the person in charge looked down at me with eyes full of anger. "What's going on here? We've had a long business relationship with your company, but I've never had such an experience before. Sorry, but I can't trust you anymore. Our business dealings are over." The client, still angry, took the products and slammed the door shut right in front of me. I slumped for a while, but eventually trudged back to the office. I had done everything I could, but when I returned to the office, there was Mr. Anderson, arms crossed, wearing a menacing expression, waiting for me. "You've made a disastrous mistake this time. Such blunders can jeopardize the company's reputation. You're fired. Leave immediately. Don't ever come back to the office again." After berating me loudly, Mr. Anderson left the room. I walked back to my desk, head hung low. "So I'm being fired, huh? My mistake has caused trouble for the company. I've contributed without any major errors until now, but it seems I need to find a new job. At my age, without having made any significant career advancements, job hunting is going to be tough. What should I tell my wife and son when I get home?" Filled with anxiety, I packed up my belongings. After the regular work hours, I bowed to my colleagues. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience I've caused due to my actions. Thank you for your hard work. I'll be taking my leave now." Feeling sorry yet apologizing to everyone, I left the office. Once I finished the procedures to use my remaining paid leave, there was nothing left for me to do at this company. These last 3 days have really been exhausting. Rotating my neck and shoulders, I could hear them crack. How should I talk to my wife and son when I get home? Will they be disappointed in me? Think of me as a failure? No, they'll greet me with smiles as usual. Considering my family's nature, they probably won't say anything to blame me, but for me that thought seemed even harder to bear. Despite my doubts, my feet naturally followed the path home, and now my house is just in front of me. I'm home. "Welcome back, Dad. You're late." "Oh, you don't look well. Is something wrong?" Holding my energetically jumping son, I shake my head with a smile at my wife's question. "Yeah, just a little something. I'll talk about it later." "All right, let's have dinner after you change." I slowly headed to my room. My wife and son greeted me with smiles. Just as I thought they would. That's why it's even harder to figure out what to say to them. "Anyway, let's talk after dinner." Regaining my composure, I returned to the living room where my wife and son were waiting. Let's eat. So, what's going on? You seem a bit down, Dad. Did something happen?" Hearing my wife and son take turns expressing their concern for me, my heart started pounding loudly. But I couldn't keep it hidden forever. I braced myself, took a deep breath, and began to speak slowly. "I'm sorry, both of you. It looks like I've been fired from my job." Hearing my words, my wife's eyes widened in shock, seemingly unable to say anything. Instead, it was my son who raised his voice. "Awesome, Dad. You don't have to go to work anymore." "Ah, yeah, that's right. I'll be home for a while starting tomorrow." "Yay. Then let's go to the amusement park. I've been wanting to go." My son looked at me with a beaming smile. Faced with my son's unexpected reaction, I could only stare back at him. Then my wife began to smile quietly. "That's a great idea. Dad has been really busy lately. It'll be good for him to relax. I'm happy to have you at home, too." Stunned by my wife and son's responses, I was at a loss for words, but at the same time I felt incredibly relieved. I see neither of them blames me for being fired. I guess it's okay for me to stay at home for a while. Come to think of it, since our son grew up, we haven't really gone out much. I left all the child care and household matters to my wife, so maybe it's good that I can now spend time with the family. Chewing over these thoughts in my mind, I smiled at them both. "Yeah, let's go to the amusement park this weekend when school is out." "Yay, it's a promise. Dad, I'm looking forward to it already." The living room filled with the happy voices of my family. What a warm and joyful dinner table this is. I'm lucky to have such happy moments. With a slightly relieved feeling, I continued my meal. But the next morning, after taking my paid leave, my cell phone suddenly rang. The caller was a colleague from work. I wonder what it is. Did I make another mistake? Feeling a bit anxious, I answered the phone. "Hello, this is Jack." "Good, you answered. Jack, I'm sorry to bother you during your leave, but could you come to the office right away?" "Does this mean there's a problem?" "Sorry, but please come back immediately. I can't discuss the details over the phone, but I really need you to return as soon as possible." "Understood. I'll head over right away." Urged by my colleague's rushed voice, I quickly got ready. My wife looked at me with a puzzled expression. "What's wrong? Did the office call?" "Yeah, I've been called in. I'm heading out now." I arrived at the office 40 minutes after receiving the call. As I headed to my department, a colleague rushed over to me. "Jack, good. You're here. Please come with me quickly." Following my hurried colleague, I tilted my head in confusion. Why such urgency? What could have happened? While running, my colleague began to explain the situation to me. According to him, the morning after I was fired, the president of the company came to our department visibly upset and angry. "Why isn't he not here? Explain this to me." "Do you mean, Jack? We won't have any problems without someone like him." Mr. Anderson, who was present, tried to calm the president, but this only made the president angrier. "What are you talking about? Just call Jack back immediately." And so they tried to contact me. Hearing my colleague's story, I was puzzled and shook my head. But I was fired, wasn't I? My colleague, equally confused, could only offer a bewildered expression. I was led to a room where the president and a scowling Mr. Anderson were already waiting. "Ah, Jack, glad you could make it back." I was fired, you know." Hearing the word fired, the president looked momentarily surprised, then his cheeks relaxed into a hearty laugh. "There's no way we'd fire you. If you were gone, who would handle the communications with our clients?" Saying this, the president showed me his computer screen. It displayed the order page for our products, finding a section marked with a red warning sign. I couldn't help but exclaim, "Hold on, this is odd, President. It seems no orders have been placed since the day after I was fired and took my paid leave." "Well, that's because you weren't here," the president replied. Why can't orders be placed without me?" "Because this is a job that only you, Jack, can do." The president said this and then handed a memo to Mr. Anderson, who had been sitting quietly. "Mr. Anderson, could you please place this order?" "Yes, sir." Mr. Anderson took the memo and moved to the computer. However, he stopped as he was about to start typing, looking perplexed. President, what does this say? I need it written in Japanese to place the order." Hearing Mr. Anderson's words, the president started laughing heartily. After calming down from his laughter, the president looked straight at me. "So, Jack, can you place the order written on the memo Mr. Anderson is holding?" "Oh, no, President. If I couldn't do it, there's no way Jack can." "Just stand up and give the memo to Jack at the president's command." Mr. Anderson, returning to his grumpy expression, reluctantly handed me the memo while pushing it into my hand. He glared at me as if to say, "There's no way you can do this." I took the memo and sat in front of the computer as instructed, checking the order details. Then I began to input the order as usual. "This is a food product from Singapore. I'm placing the order now." Odd is that in English, it looks like completely different words are written there. The next one is an Australian product. What is this product called? I can't read this. Mr. Anderson spoke to me, but I continued to input and place orders for the items on the memo. After entering all the items on the memo, I looked at the president's face. "If there are more, I can order them right away. It's about time for the regular order with South Africa, isn't it?" "Right. Someone bring over any order requests. With Jack back, we can handle them quickly." As the president's words echoed, several employees hurried over. "Mr. Jack, could you please handle this and this one too, please? It's urgent." As I busily input orders handed to me one after another, I could hear Mr. Anderson grumbling in the distance. "I can't believe it. How can that incompetent Jack handle orders?" That's when it hit me. Mr. Anderson didn't know that I was well versed in English dialects. In fact, during my student days, I studied various English dialects from around the world and nearly scored a perfect TOEIC score. I especially studied English influenced by local languages in places like Singapore and South Africa, so I didn't have to look up local words for each order. Being able to read and write all the interactions with traders from various countries had been incredibly helpful in our dealings. After entering all the requested orders, I meticulously checked each product name and quantity for accuracy. All right, everything looks correct. Sending now. I felt relieved after successfully completing the orders, but then I noticed something unusual. What's this? This computer is dedicated to order processing, and it's designed to display the order history and the last update history upon completion of the ordering process. Moreover, to operate this computer, one must enter their employee ID, which also records the name of the employee who was handling it. When I checked the records, the last update date was still set to the day I was declared fired. However, the last person to update was recorded as Anderson. I see, so that's what happened. What's the matter, Jack? With all my questions now clear, I stood up vigorously. The ordering error the other day wasn't due to my input mistake. Isn't that right, Mr. Anderson? No, what are you talking about? It was your mistake that got you fired. Mr. Anderson retorted, his face turning bright red after being pointed out by me, pointing at the computer screen I had been operating. I argued desperately. The orders were your specialty. When were they not? Plus, you just said that only you can read that incomprehensible English. Still refusing to admit it, Then let me show you the evidence. With that, I quickly printed out the screen and showed the printed paper to everyone present. Look here, the last updated section shows the name Anderson, doesn't it? No, that's Anderson. The department head muttered in a fluster, waving his hands, but everyone's gaze was fixed on the paper I was holding. The president took the paper from me, carefully examining Anderson's name. After a while, he spoke in a solemn tone. "It seems you are the one who should leave this company, Mr. Anderson." "No, This is some kind of mistake." Anderson turned pale, trying to make excuses. The president, with a stern look, declared to him, "I'll be reporting this matter to your father as well. Be prepared for the appropriate actions to be taken." After giving Anderson a long, hard look, the president walked away from the scene. Anderson let out a short cry before collapsing weakly to the floor. Meanwhile, I was surrounded by my colleagues, who all started talking to me at once. "Jack, we had no idea you had such a skill. Honestly, we thought you were incompetent at your job. We're really sorry about that. I thought you were a bit odd and didn't talk much. Sorry about that." "Don't worry about it. You guys didn't do anything wrong to me. No need to apologize. Besides, it looks like I'll still be able to work here at the company, so let's keep up the good work together," I said to my colleagues, who were bowing their heads as they looked up with relieved faces. I felt a sense of ease and my tension loosened. Having proven that I hadn't made a mistake, I safely returned home. When I told my wife and son that I was able to return to work, they were genuinely happy for me. A few days later, while I was still on my paid leave, my phone rang again. It was the company president. "Sorry to bother you during your time off. Actually, I got a call from the president of our client company. They specifically asked to pass a message to you." "What happened?" I asked. "Well, after the confusion with the order mistake, the client company contacted us. They remembered how diligently you had been handling our dealings with them and suspected there might have been some mistake. They couldn't believe it was your fault," the president explained. "Ah, that's what happened." I mused as the memories of that time came back to me. I always knew we had a long-standing relationship with that client, but to think they had such a high regard for me was heartwarming. The president continued speaking. "I always had a hunch it couldn't have been your mistake, but who would have thought Anderson was the one tampering with the records? I'm truly sorry about this whole situation. After the incident, we had a meeting with the upper management, and as a result, Anderson has been terminated for his misconduct. It was only appropriate given the extent of what he did. Anderson's father, a high-ranking executive at our parent company, couldn't save him from being fired. According to the president, Anderson is now trying to find a job at another company, but his reputation for tampering with records is making it difficult." After hanging up the phone, I took a deep breath. Now I can get back to work as usual. With Anderson gone, it's time to put in even more effort. With Anderson gone, I'm even more motivated to work hard. Seeing my renewed enthusiasm, my wife chuckled. "It seems like something good happened." The next day, we went to the amusement park as a family, a trip we had promised our son. We enjoyed the park, watching our son's happy face. "Mom, Dad, we can reserve priority tickets here," he exclaimed. "Wow, that's convenient," I replied as he explained a system allowing us to access attractions quickly within a specified time. Seeing how much my son had grown without my realizing filled me with warmth. We spent the whole day enjoying the amusement park. Then the day to return to work arrived. "I'm off," I said, leaving home earlier than usual. The familiar commute seemed brighter to me. Arriving at the office, I brushed off my suit and entered. "Good morning," I greeted. "Good morning, Mr. Jack. I'm sorry to ask so early, but could you handle this?" a colleague asked, handing me an order form for Singapore. "Of course. Leave it to me." And so my daily routine resumed as usual.